Hello.
Hey there, guys. It is Friday. So we are here to entertain you with our wonderful quirkiness.
We got all sorts of stuff all over the table, so it should be entertaining.
Yes, we will do our best. We are just going to have a little bit of fun today. Dog collars are really quite simple. It's making tiny little belts, and you can make them as fancy as you want them. So we've kind of brought a bunch of different stuff. We've got just some regular ones that Larissa's already made for us, laid out here that we'll kind of go through. But otherwise, we're just gonna make some stuff. I'm gonna attempt to do a mystery braided dog collar for my little Australian Shepherd that's around here somewhere, probably eating something.
She was hiding under the table.
She shouldn't. Yeah, we'll find her eventually. But yeah, so we're just here to keep you company for the next hour. Ask us some questions. Keep us entertained. That'd be great.
Yeah, we got some punches that we're going to use. We're going to use some tips with some of the edge bevelers that we have. Some new edge bevelers that we have that are really quite nice, and they've got our logo on them.
Yeah, it's the same ones that I used in my knife sheath video. Are they for sale?
They are for sale. They should be on the website. If you go to Shop Now, and then the first menu item will be new items, and they should be listed
right
under
up there.
Yeah, so you'll click on that, and then you can pick the size that you want, or you can buy the whole set. And you found out about this little tool.
I did. So I've worked here for a really long time, and I knew that we had a Bleader knife, but I never knew how you used it. So yesterday I was getting ready for this, and I was like, Denny, teach me something. And so I learned how to correctly use a Bleader knife yesterday, which I will show for you guys as well. It's kind of a fun little, I don't know, just a little fanciness that you can add to your collar or whatever strap.
Abigail, see if it's...
There it is. Yeah.
There you go. You can kind of see it there a little bit. So we'll do a little bit of that. So if you have some questions that don't even have to do with dog collars or dog leads, ask those too. Because we're going to be edge beveling, using D-rings, setting rivets, oblong punches, end punches, all sorts of things. So Liz?
Here, we're just going to get going. So I had the shop cut me a 3/4 inch Latigo strip. This is just 5 to 7 ounce Latigo. Latigo is really nice, especially for this kind of stuff, because it'll deal with like the wear and tear. It'll deal with the water a little bit better than just natural veg. Veg is great, but it just doesn't have the oiliness to it to kind of repel just a dog's life. Is these collars are going to go through. And so I chose a Latigo to start with, the 5 to 7 ounces. Are really nice. I mean, Luna's only 30 pounds, so she's not a huge, heavy dog. If you were making it for Rusty's American Bulldog, he'd probably want like the 10 to 11 ounce stuff.
Yeah, so we put in the video description, we listed on there some of the leathers that you could use: bridle, veg tan, collar, harness. Some of the good ones to you. And there's some really good colors that are in there. This is what they call like a red Latigo.
I think they call it a burgundy Latigo.
Well, ask Denny. I bet you he calls it a red.
Let's see here. So I'm just going to start out just edge beveling, just because since we're just doing everything is a strip. Get over that little hump there. Just start out with the basics.
Yeah, and I don't have a tool, but you could take one of those, what do you call them? The... just like the ice pick and looking, the little awl. Yeah. If you take and you stab it into the tabletop, or you stab it into the wood on the side of your table.
We've got this fancy. Okay. I don't have a hole. Let's see.
Just make you a hole in there.
Yeah. So a trick that Denny does when he's beveling really long edges.
Yeah, like he showed me this when I was doing reins. Yeah. So jab that into your table. We'll pretend that's jabbed there.
We'll pretend. There we go.
And I'll hold.
Let's see. I beveled.
Here, let's do it the other way.
Oh.
I'll switch you sides.
Okay. We can do that.
So just have your hole in it, or if you have the other deal, you can just stab it through there. But we'll pretend that we stuck it into our table here.
Yeah.
And I'll hold it there. No, you're going to edge from this.
Oh, I'm just going to edge this way.
So that way
I haven't done this yet.
Yeah, that way you're pulling against this, and it's holding it in place.
I don't know if this is better.
Well...
Here we go. I just got to get past Tony.
I know, my hand's in the way.
There it is.
So it's just going to hold your strip down so that you can make a good cut through it.
Yeah, look at that. Woo!
Yeah.
That's done. That's as far as I'm going to bevel.
All right.
I'm not going to cut my strip to final length first, because since I'm going to mystery braid this, you kind of have to take into consideration that as you braid, your strap is going to get shorter. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my turn back, and then I'm going to start cutting my slits for my braid to mystery braid. And then as I get to where I think that it might be okay, I'm going to put it around Luna's neck. We'll see where we're at. And then I'll cut my adjustment end later. So
we have a question here. It says, what's the hardest part of shading or beveling cuts? I assume this was with tooling leather.
Yes.
Maybe we can have Denny come in here. I can go find Denny. I started tooling. I was teaching my daughter, and Denny was teaching my daughter how to do like a nose band and doing the beveling. The hardest part for me on the beveling was Denny sets his tool all the way down on the leather when he's doing it, and he's hammering and he's scooting the tool across as he's doing it. I hold mine up just a little bit like a jackhammer type of thing, so I'm hitting it and it's kind of bouncing across the leather. The hardest part though is just not keeping that hit as even across there so it's not jagged. Yeah,
when you're shading, like if you're beveling your cut line, shading your cut lines, really it's just practice. Like practice at moving the tool as consistently as you can, and just making, even though you're hitting it 100 different times on that line, kind of just making it look like one fluid bevel rather than 100 different hits. And really it's just, most of tooling is just practice. It's practice on using the tool, holding it, getting that rhythm correctly, figuring out what mallet is your best friend whenever you do this. So let me get this centered here. I'm gonna go ahead and punch my tip.
So we have those veg tan scrap bundles that you can use, and use that to just practice on. I think it's $5-10 for 2 pounds or so of it to just do practice on. That way you just keep working along, marking your center there to line up your end punch.
That's right.
Oh look, we got Denny to come in here. Let's see if we can find him a stool to sit on to hang out with us.
Hey man,
welcome.
And Rusty.
I'm making dog collars. What are you doing? I thought you were supposed to be driving.
Wow. There's Luna.
There she is. Apparently Rusty just didn't float her boat right there.
You want to sneak by over here, Denny, and I'll pull you a chair out here.
You really got to sneak through, Denny.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
All right, yeah.
Are we live right now?
We are.
You can say hi to everybody.
Yeah.
Hello.
He's making his way down.
All right. I don't know if they may not be able to see you on camera, but they can probably hear you.
Good.
Here, we can move the table out of the way and we can slide you back here.
On your laptop?
Don't give any ideas to anyone.
So we had a question, Denny,
All right.
about what's the hardest part about shading or beveling cuts?
Carving cuts?
Yeah, that's what I assumed they were talking about.
Well, it's not really hard. It's a matter of practice and using the right tools.
We knew what we were talking about.
Way to go, Liz.
None of it's really hard. I mean, it's not rocket science. But there are certain tools that you have to use to do certain things. But these tools can do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And you just have to learn how to use them and how hard to hit a piece of leather, how wet to have a piece of leather.
Guys, I almost forgot the saddle soap, but Denny reminded me because he's here. I'm gonna attempt to Bleader knot my 3/4 inch strap, but it's much thinner than yesterday's.
Yes, you'll have a lot better luck with that leather too.
So yeah, so we're gonna.
Here, jump off that stool a minute, Denny. Let me put you back here behind the table.
We'll get you
so everybody
good.
can see you.
Oh, Luna, what's going on down there?
We had talked about doing some saddle repair type of stuff, but letting the old hip rest a little bit. That's a lot of standing to tear a saddle apart. Maybe I'll have to do it and you can just coach me along.
There you go.
Get you a whip made up and
Yeah.
I can tear the saddle apart.
Okay, that'll be fine. Yeah.
Okay. So I punched my slot here for the turn back. for my little buckle. I'm going to use a center bar buckle. With dog collars, you can use, like, you always need the D-ring, you know, to put your little dog tag on or to physically hook the dog to your lead. But we found like the center bar buckles are just really handy. You don't have a floating keeper hanging out. You don't have to try to work it through two different keepers that are moving on you. It's just, they're a nice one. And then a center bar buckle with a roller also just helps a little bit more just to pull it through when you're trying to cinch it down, instead of having just a solid bar there. Getting a center bar roller buckle are really nice for dog leads and collars. Okay.
Stacy had another question for me over there, but I left my post-it notes over there.
Oh.
Could you use the Belt Ninja for making dog collars? We have a Belt Ninja back here.
You could if it was for a larger dog. With the Belt Ninja, your holes are kind of on center, 1 inch apart. For your smaller leads, you're probably looking at maybe a 3/4, maybe for your tiny ones, a 1/2 inch even, maybe 5/8, a 1/2 inch between your holes. So this you could use. I mean, I think it goes down to 1 inch, doesn't it? Or is it just 1 inch and a quarter?
That may be the wide one. But
this is the wide one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other one does go down.
It goes down to 1 inch.
You could use it.
So you could definitely use your Belt Ninja for your larger dog collars.
Yeah, and we've had some people ask about the hole sizes on here, what they are, and then even Chad, who made this to laser out, he was saying guys and gals were sticking their hole punch in here and trying to punch the hole out through there. That'll quickly tear up. These are just a guide to get you in the center.
Yeah.
The hole depends.
Yeah, 1/8 inch is a good all-around hole size for most buckles.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them will have a real big tongue on them, you know, and you'll need a little bigger hole.
3/16 or something.
Yeah, that hole size is gonna. A lot of it determines about the hardware that you're using. What rivet is, what if you're using a rivet and a burr, whether it's a double cap rivet, Chicago screws.
Okay, so I've got my buckle in here, and I'm actually going to attempt to bleeder knot this little section right here. So I'm going to grab this handy dandy little knife that I learned how to use yesterday correctly, and we're going to give it a go.
All right, let's see if I can get a camera set up on this.
This is the coolest thing. Whoever designed this is just really brilliant.
Well, it's 2 tools actually.
Okay.
It's a knife, and then it's like a spike, a spreader tool.
Yeah, because it has a really fat, there we go. It has this really fat, there it is, backside. So the blade is really obviously thin, but then it gets really wide here. So as you pull, which I'll show you, as you pull the leather up, it spreads it out, which allows you to get the back section up and through.
All right, let's.
So gotta mark my center line here.
You want to make sure it's in the center then, huh?
I do want to make sure that it's in the center. Everything should always be centered.
Denny was punching holes for me yesterday, and I said, "Are you eyeballing that center? You know that's right in the center." Of course, it's Denny, so it was right in the center.
A lot of times your eyeball is your best measuring tool, you know.
I haven't ever tried to mark a center with my eyes shut before, but I assume it's probably pretty hard.
Yeah, that's probably not recommended.
Would belly leather work for dog collars and harnesses?
Not well. It's stretchy.
Yeah. It may work for your lead, especially if you do something like a braid, where even if you braid it, it's still going to stretch anyway with braiding it. So if you did that, it depends on how much the dog is really going to pull.
Yeah, and plus the fact that there are some really good firm leather in parts of the belly.
Yeah.
You know, if you pick and choose the parts of the belly that you're going to use, you might have a lot.
Okay, here we go. So apparently you stab this guy into the table. So the rubber table is going to be your friend in this situation. Get yourself a poundo board. So you can shove that in, and then you grab it from the back and you pull it up, keeping that blade on your center line. And then the blade only is so thick, so then it stops. But I actually am going to wiggle it out a little bit more just because apparently this is for a 1/2 inch strip, so I need just a little bit wider gap there.
So the question may come, how wide do you make that? With a bleeder knife, it makes it as wide as you need to, and that was you saying you wiggle it just a little bit.
Yeah,
you
and
have 3/4.
Yeah, so this will make a perfect slot for a 1/2-inch strip.
Right. The slot size depends on the width of the leather. If you're using 3/4 inch leather, you want a 3/4 inch slot.
Do they make Bleader knives that have a bigger blade
Not
in it?
that I've seen.
Yeah, you just wiggle it a little bit more, or pull the leather to you.
Yeah, it's actually made to bleed saddle strings with, you know, which are almost always 1/2 inch.
Yeah.
Can you grab that dog? Yeah, you can stay on camera one there, Abigail. Oh, there you go. Nice.
Yeah, so there's number 1.
Looks good.
I'm going to do 4, and I'm going to put my D-ring in the middle of those 4.
Yeah, so we beveled it, and then you also saddle soaked it. Or if you were going to edge it with, I brought some gum trag over here, or Toko Pro, you would want to do that as well. But you can't do it in between those braids. I guess you could. If you
Yeah,
want to
you just kind of, I pulled the saddle soap through everything, so everything is nice and kind of coated. And
grab that one that collar that I sewed up yesterday. Oh, I was going to give it to Denny.
Oh, well, there you go. Just kidding.
I've got it.
So the question is, so you wouldn't sew a mystery braid, but when you sew a dog collar, do you sew the whole thing, then sew again over the buckle? So I made that one yesterday that Denny has in his hands. And when I did it, so you stay there, Abigail. I sewed around the whole perimeter of it, and then I just riveted the center bar and the D-ring on there.
If you're going to actually stitch the buckle shape on, you want to stitch it and the rest of the dog collar at the same time. That way you can just come down and go back up.
Sorry, I kicked the camera.
You going to stitch over your D-ring?
I forgot about that. Yeah, you'll have to stitch up to it and then jog around it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can clip afterwards. You can clip those long threads off. But I would, if it was me, I would stitch the whole thing at one time. But the way you've stitched it here, it looks nice going across the bend of that buckle shape.
Yeah, he basically just did a perimeter stitch.
Yeah.
And then you could go back in and you could just, where your rivet holes are, you could just sew up and down to secure the turn back if you wanted to as well.
And that's the same thing that you'd do for like a concealed carry bell. Something like that if you're putting 2 pieces of the leather together.
Mm-hmm.
That was just decorative. It's one piece of leather.
This is purely decorative. Most people wouldn't stitch a single piece of leather other than for a decorative purpose like that.
Yeah. All right, let's see what you have there.
Okay, so there's
Liz.
bleeder dot number 2.
Go to 3 there, Abigail.
So there we go.
Ta-da.
So we've got...
Nice.
Liz, I'm proud to know you.
Oh, thanks, Denny.
That looks really good.
Yeah.
So how much you got left on the back there?
Enough,
All right.
hopefully.
White
see.
strap is hard to bleed and make look nice. But
Well, it's the saddle soap, guys.
So if it's standing
the
up,
saddle soap.
if it's standing up a little bit, Denny, what would you do to your bleeder knot to lay it down?
After you're done, if you
You
put
rivet
it on
that
a
in.
hard surface and tap it with a hammer.
Yeah, because I don't think this is ever going to come apart.
No.
Like, you literally have to pull the whole thing back through. So we're going to go in.
So you just take like a poly mallet and hammer those.
No,
bleeds.
I would use a steel hammer myself.
A steel hammer.
Yeah. Poly mallet has sharp edges. You know, the steel hammer doesn't. So.
Yeah, unless you hammer something,
Man,
hammer concrete.
This
or
cuts
something.
so much nicer than that veg I was working with yesterday. What was I doing?
Trying to make it hard on yourself,
I don't know.
and you were successful.
I did. I brought it. It was in here
Did you?
earlier.
Oh no, I think it's back on Denny's table.
Oh,
So
good.
tried to hide it. It's not thrown
Okay.
away yet.
So, very important. Let's not forget our D-ring while we're at it, because then I'd be sad to start over again. Get the D-ring on there. There's going to be so many different types of braids and knots going on with this thing. It's going to be great.
Oh, so Denny, what color latigo is this? What's the normal name for it?
I would call it burgundy.
Ah, Liz was right.
Burgundy. People used to call it red latigo.
All right.
When I
I must be. Oh, I'm older than Liz.
When
so-
I had my first saddle shop, I forget what company I ordered it from, but I ordered red latigo
Yeah.
because I was used to calling it red latigo.
Okay.
They sent me bright red latigo. I
Like
mean,
legit red.
barn red.
Like
yeah.
cardinal red? Like the
Yes.
color of this mask
Yes. I used it, but
here? Wasn't happy about it. So we were both right.
Was that for a Mexican saddle? I bet they would have been happy with the bright red.
Oh yeah. Well,
Been fine.
nowadays people like bright colors on stuff.
Yeah. Okay, one more, and then we're gonna be good to go.
I didn't check on the sound, but I guess the sound is sounding okay to everybody. Stacy gave me a thumbs up. We let Chad take the day off today, so we got Abigail on the camera controls today, and
We're figuring it out.
Stacy's handling the chat. He's bringing me these post-it notes, so keep on asking. If you got any questions, any more questions about tooling, or you got questions about saddle, or you got questions about why we brought Denny in here. We brought Denny in here because he's got a lot more knowledge than I can make up.
I just blow smoke better than you guys.
Well, you've just been doing
You've
it
been
for
doing
so long.
it. You've been blowing smoke longer than everybody else.
So, you know the best smoke to blow. Let's see here. Look at this is gonna come out nice, guys. Look at that.
We have,
Let's see here.
yeah, go back to 3.
Here we are.
Ooh.
Woohoo!
That looks good.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Right.
You could probably do one more.
I could probably do one more.
Yeah, and that's another thing. When you're doing that, you want the tail end of your not to come out on top because you don't want it to be.
Well, so then I don't want to do one more. I want to call it because this is the bottom.
No, you want
Yeah.
you want that
I
last
would
edge
want
to
it
come on top.
But that'll look good. I was thinking you were making a collar, but that's a
I am. No, I'm gonna mystery braid it next.
That's a collar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would make the tail end come out on top.
Oh, you do want it to come out
that'll
on
be
top.
against the dog. It'll curl all up and scratch his
It'll
little throat.
bother
Poor
Luna's
little
little
Luna.
neck.
Her
She
little
was back
fluffy.
there.
I don't know where she
ran
went.
off to.
Where'd she go? She was under your feet.
Oh, guys, let's not do this again.
She's there at the front of the table.
Okay. We had a minor scare earlier.
So we were getting ready to start the video, and we have a door that's
She's
over here. You can
just,
see
like,
on one of the
lying
cameras,
on the
and
floor.
we put up a piece of wood to block. Well, somebody had gone out the other side of the door, and I guess Luna had escaped to Darcy's office, and she was hiding in there. And I was like, well, maybe Chris took her on her walk. Maybe she's somewhere, and we're like running up and down the alley, looking in the parking lot. And I'm like, hey, at least we got 30 minutes, Liz, for your heart rate to slow back
I
down.
know. It was a little terrifying, but everything's okay.
So we've been kind of finishing edges, and we talk about finishing edges with gum trag or Choconol or Toko Pro. Denny, what has always been, I think I know what the answer is, and it's maybe sitting on a piece of granite over there. What do you normally finish off your edges or rub your stuff down with?
It totally depends on the leather itself. Saddle soap is always an important part of it for me. Latigo, I used to finish edges strictly with saddle soap.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because that will lay the fuzz down pretty good on Latigo.
Yeah.
But nowadays we've got Toko Pro,
Yeah.
trag, you know, which is a little more permanent.
Right.
You know, on a vegetable tan leather, I use water and glycerin saddle soap.
Yeah.
Okay. Should we rivet or should we just leave it?
I would leave it.
Let's leave it.
It's not going to go anywhere.
It's not going
Someone
anywhere.
mentioned that on that tail you could stamp the your dog's name or phone number on that tail. That
Oh, you
yeah. Yeah. You totally could.
Or laser it. Or
Yeah.
Maker's Mark.
Yeah, you could. You could add your little maker's mark under there if you wanted to. Go get my little lizard. It would actually
Yeah.
fit really well on there.
Even if you did it on this under part of it, if you did it there, and then it's there, but it's not.
wait, where are you? Can you?
Do it on.
There we go.
So underneath this tail, if you did it there, and then it lays back down, and so it stays protected at your dog information or your information of where to bring your dog back to as it runs down the alley.
Yeah.
All right, got a couple questions here. Can you talk about adding inner liners to dog collars and the process, and what materials would be good for lining? We actually talked a little bit about this yesterday and what we wanted to try to do, and it was a little much for us to try to do a lined one here in an hour. But what would you use for lining materials?
I would probably just use veg.
You can use veg. The only problem with veg is it's not very moisture resistant.
Yeah.
You know, a Latigo or an oil tan leather is a little more moisture resistant. You know, that's what I always like to use for liners. But you know, dogs aren't what you call real sweaty like a horse or
Right.
something like that.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
So unless they're just going to be a water dog.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think it's a matter of choice. Whatever you've got
Right.
handy,
You can
whatever
use
you
a lot of
want to
things.
use. You know,
What if you wanted to make it padded? What could you add in there? Say you were going to do
to
it.
add it?
Yeah, if you wanted to do a padded, like a harness, like the breastplate for a harness on a dog, and you wanted it to be padded.
Gosh. If you wanted to get
Shearling?
real fancy, you could use shearling, yes. Or you could use a piece of foam rubber and cut to put between. You'd
Yeah,
have
or
to use
seat
a really
foam.
lightweight. Yeah.
Like our seat foam is like a 1/4 inch thick or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Use a really lightweight liner.
I know Tommy's done some of that over in the shop. All right, this one is strictly for Denny. Tips for backgrounding. This is on tooling.
There again, that depends on the backgrounding tool that you're using. If you use a matte backgrounder, it's meant to look pretty rustic, so you don't want to try and make it symmetrical lined up. Otherwise, you will leave a bunch of lines because it won't line up with itself properly. So
Yeah, I'm
just
trying to look.
stamp in all directions with a matte backgrounder. With a bar grounder, you do want to line everything up. You want it to all be going in one direction. A lot of people don't like backgrounding because it's kind of monotonous, and I used to be one of them, but now I enjoy backgrounding. It's kind of a good therapy part of the process.
Denny actually did. He did, if you guys have seen our clutch kit that we came out with here a while back, he did a filigree clutch kit, and he was telling me the other day he put some of that really cool green metallic like suede behind the tooling part. So he did like a Western floral.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
Of course. That's what I do.
That was the envelope clutch.
Yeah, the envelope clutch. And so he did the Western floral, and then instead of backgrounding it, he cut all the spots out that he would background, and then he glued it down to that green metallic suede, and that just looked really amazing.
Yeah.
So we'll throw some pictures up on social if we haven't done so. I'm sure eventually of
Maybe I
that.
can sneak out of the room here for
Yeah,
a
it's
minute,
hanging up
and
by
I'll
his
go,
thing.
I'll go grab it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the video we can do, Denny, is doing filigree and laying a suede behind it, and even another video on different backgrounding techniques with the different tools, so we can see it. And any suggestions that you guys have on other videos. So we do have the saddle repair that we'll do. We're just trying to work around some things and make it happen, because there's no way we can tear a saddle down and put it back together all in one video. But it'll have to be like a 3-part series. So yeah.
So right now I am just
What
cutting.
do you got going on there, Liz?
I am trying to cut straight lines, but once you braid it, it's not. Can't really see it. I'm cutting my mystery braid in. So Luna's neck is about 16 inches. So I've got what'll look like about 18 from in to where I'm going to stop cutting the braid. And so once I get that braided, I'll see where that goes, and that should give me enough room for a tail.
So say you weren't doing a mystery braid one, how would you measure the dog's collar or their neck to figure out how much a turn back you need and how much space you need on your tip for your overall length? So talk about that while I go get a envelope clutch.
Okay. So we did put up that little chart, which kind of gives you the overall just some suggestions.
There we go.
There it is. So just some suggestions about what size your dog is, the width of strip you might use, and then the final length of the strip that you would cut for your size dog. But I mean, really, a lot of this is subjective to what you want to do and the end results that you want to get. So, if you have a small dog, you're going to add less to the overall length than if you have a large dog, and you're going to use, a 1-inch spacing between your adjustment holes instead of a 3/4 or a 1/2 inch. It depends on how you're going to do the turn back. If you're going to put a D-ring right next to your center bar buckle, or if you decide to put a D-ring on the other side, like Larissa's made a collar here that's got a couple different ones on it. So usually you can add maybe like 5 inches. What we did is we just took a paper tape measure, like a like a fabric tape measure, and then you just wrap it around. Or you can take your dog's current collar, which is how we size belts here. Take your current belt and then measure how long it is.
That's the best way.
Exactly.
That's the most accurate.
Yeah, and she's got one of those little clip like fabric collars right now, and so you would just add your adjustment. So that gives you where is Luna?
She's laying right here.
Luna,
Oh, she's jumping up.
come here, little one. Don't pee. You're gonna pee. There she did. She's still working on her tinkle situation. Yeah. Watch out. So anyways,
I know.
sorry guys. So there she is.
There she is.
Hi, Luna. Hi, say hi.
Okay. That's pretty cute. Oh, no.
She's the cutest dog here. I'm not partial at all. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. See? Okay, so she's just got one of these little clip collars. So basically, what this sizing is it is from where your turn back of your buckle is, so the center part of your buckle, or if you're using a heel bar, where the leather turns over on itself. And then to there is going to be your first adjustment. So where your middle adjustment, my bad. So from your turn back to your middle adjustment will be the entire length of the collar. But because we're doing leather and we're going to do multiple, we will have, we're going to do 5 holes. So we'll have 2 holes on top and 2 holes on bottom. And then you'll have your little tail where you cut the end. And so
when you say middle adjustment, when you measure a belt or you measure a collar,
yes.
we are talking.
Perfect. This one's pretty close.
Stay right here on this one. So we're talking.
There we go.
Turn back. From this turn back to your center hole would be your measurement. Oh, let's see. There we go.
Yeah.
To your center hole, and that's your belt length. Or if you were measuring a belt or you're measuring a collar, you would ask your customer, "Hey, what is
what's the length?
What's the length to the hole that you use the most?" It may on their belt it may not be the middle length.
Exactly. So if you're making a belt for somebody and they've lost a lot of weight, they may be way back here somewhere, or if they've gained some weight, they might be way up here. But when you make them the new one, you want to put that in the middle. You want to put that hole that they're going to wear it in the middle, so that gives them a little bit of leeway either way.
Yeah.
So same thing with the dog collar.
You know what I used to do when people would order a belt over the phone or through the mail? I would tell them to measure from the buckle tongue to the hole that they want to wear it in. Mm-hmm. That many inches. And then I could compensate however I needed to from that.
Sure.
Because if you have a lot of times if you have a measure from this turn back, and they are using like a trophy buckle.
The trophy buckles are the exception.
Or and a lot of times these long roller buckles are a little bit different than a straight buckle.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right. We got our filigree clutch we have here. Liz is just cutting. We'll just throw this in front of her. Look at that. So all the spot where the green is where Denny's cut out, and that's the filigree part that would be background.
That would have been background, yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we'll do a video on doing something like that together.
Yeah, I used to. That's another thing I used to dread was filigree.
Here's those chinks that you made that I've been wearing around.
But filigree is nothing other than a very sharp X-Acto knife.
I had the funniest conversation. It was years ago when I used to work on retail. Chan Gear actually came in. He was headed through to some show, doing something, and he came through, and we had a long conversation about filigree. I don't remember the specifics. But then he also taught me about spit shining his edge. So that was also very interesting. Apparently, the best edge is the spit shine one. It's not gum trag.
Or saddle soap. It's your spit.
Saliva.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Helpful tips and tricks to figure out required thread length. I've tried 4 times the stitch length, and it's either short or way too long. One thing Liz has said about thread before, it's pretty cheap.
It's cheap.
Yeah.
So if it's long, That's okay.
Yeah.
Other than when you're starting, you're having to pull lots of length through.
Like that can be annoying, but it's better than running out. Running out is never any good.
Because you just clip it and then you burn it.
Well, and so a lot about how much thread you need is how thick of things you're going through. So like, you know, it might be fine to have 3 times the length for something of this thickness, but if I'm making my knife sheath and I have something that's 4 times this thickness, 3-time length isn't going to work anymore.
Maybe 4, maybe 5, but pull enough off to where you can't. Yeah, it's annoying when you start. It's long, but you don't have to go back over it.
Yeah.
And you can just snip it off and burn it. Denny, do you have any other?
Yeah, that's another thing. We'll have to do another deal on
measuring?
hand stitching. I can show you if we're talking about hand stitching.
Yep.
I can show you how to splice in the middle of a project where you won't see it.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
But I can't tell you.
I
I'll
can't
have to kill
I
you.
can only show you.
Well, we got another. Write that down on the list. If you line the collar, does it change the measurement?
Yes, a bit, because the inside of a circle is shorter than the outside of a circle.
Yeah, so if you get real carried away with your lining and suddenly you go from, 6 to 7 ounce strap to 12 ounce,
Yeah.
then you're going to need to make it a little bit longer.
Yeah, ideally the length is measured on the inside of a circle.
Yep. I brought some filigree belts over here too, because Denny's starting like standing around.
You want
I
to put it
know.
on the table?
Some-
On the table?
Lay them down there. Maybe you can see it. There you go. That belt could go with a clutch if you so please, or if you like blue. There's a nice little blue one. We had a question that was on Facebook the other day about. Oh, now I laid it down here on Abigail. Switch cameras. There we go. We have some of these shapes like that are strips,
Beaded.
beaded, and you can inlay them in your belt. You just do those with a swivel knife, Denny, to make decorative cuts in there.
Yes, that's just swivel knives.
Nice. So, and there's some long ones here, but we have some pieces that are longer. So you wanted to do a whole belt. Do we have strips that are long enough to do a whole belt? Are they 5 inches?
Yeah, I think we've got some that are quite a bit longer than that even. We might even have 24-inch strips, if I'm not mistaken.
But that'd leave enough for your tip and your turn back and do the inlay in the middle of it.
The hardest part about doing a beaded belt like that is getting it to center.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, let me get this.
Because you have to be pretty exact as far as the buckle in front and the beads in back.
Yep.
So it depends on if you want your back straight or you want your buckle off center.
And a deal like that, it's got that wide center, which goes in the back. Then, it about has the center in the back and the front. So it has to be. You can't make a belt like that to one side.
Just off camera. I guess it depends on how you're going to line up your gig line.
Yeah. Well, if you do like the rectangular pieces or the circular pieces for that matter, if you do a series of them, it really doesn't matter if they're centered because you've got several of them.
I'm really glad that you explained that mystery braid as you just like slammed it out. I look up and it's like 2 seconds later, Denny and I had one little conversation back and forth.
Turns out I'm still pretty good at this.
Yeah, evidently.
I could do it again. So
well, if you got any questions about it, Liz can be reached on the phone. Just ask for her, and she can get you to the mystery braiding.
Mystery braiding is really simple.
Easy.
It's pretty. There's like a million tutorials online, and there's a lot of different ways that you can go about it. So what I do is I flip first. So at some point you will have to flip your braid front to back. You know what? I should have just slowed down on that a little bit. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry. But yeah,
it's
so
done.
it's done. You just do this. It's easy enough. Did you catch that? Look at that. Okay, so I might have to do a little bit more. So let's see. So now I'm going to measure again, and I need the longer ruler.
How much length do you lose when
16.
you braid something like that?
So I think
Average.
it was at 18. And so I lost 2 inches.
2 inches.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But that will stretch some too. Won't
It will a little bit, yeah, because you cut it down into thinner strips. So now we've got, and it's a little, I still need to work out the end a little bit here to make it lay a little bit straighter, but.
It's hard to figure out which way to go. You're like going back and cross, and it's like trying to figure out which way you're going in the camera because we have a TV that's set up so that we can see if we're in the
shot.
Getting in the shot. And so it's like looking in a mirror that's also backwards.
So we'll just need to do our adjustment in now.
Nice.
And then I'll just be...
Luna is so excited, I think she went somewhere and fell asleep. All right, so we had a question, Denny, about your filigree belt that's here. And it is, when sewing a filigree belt, how far from the edge do you need to make the stitching? So you kind of left yourself...
An 1/8 of an inch is always a good stitch line, I think.
Abigail, will you go to 3 there for a second? So so about 1/8 inch from the edge, and you can see he left a solid line across there. So, did you dye the edge black on that?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, it looks good.
So how do you dye your edges black, Denny?
You did a really great job of it without it spreading on to the top side of it there.
Well, I have a little piece of hard felt stuck in the end of a tube.
Okay.
And you can dip that in dye, and you can be pretty precise when you dye an edge with that. But I have it burnished before I ever dye it.
Sure.
And then after I dye it,
So what do you burnish with first?
Water and glycerin saddle soap.
Okay.
For a veg tan, yes.
That's the block, the hard glycerin.
Yes, and just wet the edge and rub that saddle soap on there, and then take a piece of canvas and just create a lot of friction. Water and friction are the main.
If that
thing
canvas starts getting in your hands, whenever you move that piece of canvas, it's going to be doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But then after it's burnished and that it's dried, then you can go over it with your edge, whatever you want to use. I always just use dye.
We have those dyeing pins too. Have you used those dyeing pins before?
Yeah, I can use those. Those will work.
That piece of what you were talking about, that's those little daubers that we have. Or is that what you're using?
No, a piece of hard felt.
Okay. I was showing her your
Huh?
Like in the end of a tube, like a...
Yeah, if you can, whatever you can find. I'll tell you the best is those little Dremel tool pieces of felt polishing deal for a Dremel tool.
Yeah.
Because that's hard and it'll soak up the dye pretty good, but it's not fuzzy.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing. You don't want it fuzzy because it'll get up on
you get those little fuzzes that usually it's that fuzzies that get the dye over into the front side of your project. Yeah.
Well, Luna, did you wake up?
She heard her collar was almost done. Hey, I showed Liz your little trick about stabbing into the table when you're when you're beveling.
Beveler?
Yeah.
We used to make a lot of reins, and when you're beveling like 10 pair of reins, you get tired of sitting there edging along.
Right. That's what I was doing. We were with my daughter making a pair of split reins.
Yeah.
Nice. So at this point, I'm just going to punch my adjustment holes. I'm going to start right after this guy. And then I'm just going to... I'm going to do them at about 3/4 of an inch apart. And 5. Trusty poly mallet.
Yeah.
Or poly board. Ooh, this hole's a little big, but that's fine.
I asked if you want me to get Denny's little punching tool.
You did, and I was like, no, it's
No,
fine.
this will be great.
I got it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Tries to focus, but then you put your hand back in the way.
Oh, that's 5. I don't even know how to count today, guys. It's Friday. I go on vacation next week. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Where are you headed?
Going to Disney World, y'all.
Are you really?
Yeah. But don't try to meet me there. It'll be just weird. No, I'm excited. It'll be my first time there. We're gonna go and spend a week. Let's see here. So don't need me after next Wednesday for a while, because I won't be here.
Just send your mystery braiding to Disney and she'll take care of it. She's standing in line for rides.
So
Hopefully not.
how are you measuring where your tip end is?
You know, I'm just eyeballing it.
You know what I do?
What do
And
you
I was
do?
showing him yesterday. I will take
Oh, right.
your last hole will be right there. Right there,
Mhm.
right? So if you make your end too short, it'll come out right underneath.
If
the
I
end
need
of
to
your
use it in the
buckle.
last
So
hole.
I just make it where it'll kind
Hold it right there a
be a
second,
pleasing
Danny.
look.
Yeah.
There we go.
You know, and
So
that's
you
where
want
I
it?
would-
Yeah, you want it to come under your D-ring, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look
All
at
right.
that. He saved me from a
You
silly
about-
looking buckle.
You about got her too short.
I don't know. So we want to do. Well, let's make it go all the way under.
Yeah, if it goes under that D-ring too. Yeah.
Oh well, yeah. Look at this.
But another thing you have to take into consideration, you're going to be in the third hole, so you don't want it too long.
Too long. So that's right. So we'll just go about here. That'll be pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that where you made your mark anyway?
No,
You would have been short.
I would have been short. Yeah, I would have been a whole like an inch short.
It's a good thing we brought Denny in.
Whew. I would have had to do this all over again.
Well, I've done it all over a lot of times.
That's why he's working here at the leather store now. So when he when he has to do it over, it doesn't cost as much. Hey Rusty, I need another piece of leather.
Yeah, I tell you what, that is one thing that Rusty and Kevin and Denny, you know, and in the world, learn from the mistakes of others. Because there's no reason for you to have to do it as many times as they did.
That's right.
So, especially now that there's so many resources in the leather industry and with different leather groups, and there's so many people out there willing to help out and teach. It's really phenomenal. So,
What if we're not using the information that's out there? At some point, it's just going to be lost, and somebody's either going to have to learn it over again, or you'll have to keep asking until you find the right person. So
exactly.
it's kind of why we've been doing these videos and trying, you know, the information that you guys want to get. That's why we're here to bring it to you. So we had a whole list of questions, but interested in some more. And it's always kind of the first project we get. You know, I see Abigail over there looking at the belt that we had, that she made. I mean, she got to make a belt. Then he helped her make a belt, and that was kind of a project that we kind of have everybody make. Everybody usually wears a belt.
Yeah.
This.
They don't. They probably need to.
Fair point. All right.
That looks good, Liz.
Let's seat this.
Yeah. See what that does?
Sorry, somebody didn't adjust the camera.
Oh.
All right, now you should be there.
Okay. That's a little awkward with this buckle
put it
situation.
over.
Oh, there we go. Perfect.
No, we're not. Good.
Probably now we're too far. There it is.
It's live. That's the beauty of live.
But you know you can do it on that too.
Shall I hammer my braid?
Hammer your mystery braid.
Just hammer out everything. Hammer your lace. Hammer your stitch line.
On that braid, if you have a smooth,
Oh, yeah.
smooth rounded edge, you can run it over that.
And it'll kind of even
Yeah, it'll
Oop,
even
there
things out. Yeah.
Oh, you
jump
wanna-
around.
No, you're good.
It's fine. It's
Stay
fine.
there.
It's
Oh, okay.
fine. Yeah, so you can kind of pull this braid along if you have a nice edge, and it'll just kind of even out everything. So like my end is still just a little bit funky, but I evened them out some.
Yeah.
Luna's ready. She's ready to put this
She's
on.
excited about to wear it. All right, back to one.
She's pouting now because she doesn't have it.
Yeah.
There we go. So mystery braid, bleeder knotted collar. Aw, I'm so excited.
Can you knock out a lead in 10 minutes?
Let's see. Was that almost an hour? Hey, look at that.
We had a lot
We
of
talk a
questions.
lot.
We had a lot of questions that went along with it as well.
Yeah. Well, actually, I've got just a couple collars here. Why don't we just go over some of these? So
All right.
that'll just be that'll be good. So Larissa made this one up. Some of these two like double-ended leads are really nice. You have a lot of options for how you want to adjust them. You can add multiple adjustments. So a lot of times, like training leads will have a few different hooks here where you can hook in your handle and then give yourself, whatever kind of length you want. Yeah. Or even this one, I think, well, she had it kind of. And then it's nice and compact for travel. Look at that. It's also really nice if you, carry your poop bags in a little poop bag holder. You can clip it on to the D-ring here, and then you don't have to find a pocket. I have a fanny pack for my poop bags. I have this tiny little fanny pack that I wear on my walks to hold my poop bags in. I need one of these.
Bring it in and put you a D-ring on there.
That's right. So this is a style of lead that you can make. So it's just really simple. Literally do your edges, finish your leather however you want, and then rivet some things together. So whatever your length is that you prefer. Let's see here.
That's just a plain Jane one.
Just a plain Jane. So just a strip of leather, 2 rivets on your clip end, and use good rivets. So you don't want to lose your dog. So anywhere that you're doing, like the solid brass rivets is probably what I would recommend in this situation, or you could use copper or just like the brass burr rivet, because those are going to be a lot heavier duty. If you have a dog that's going to pull at all.
The bleed knot is the best.
Or bleed knot in this situation, just because a lot of times those steel double cap rivets.
Yeah. The less hardware, the better.
Exactly.
Always.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and especially, and then, you'll have less problems with kind of, like antiquing or it turning green and doing that patina situation. And then you just fold it over and you make a loop for your handle. You can just add a D-ring here. That's really simple.
Yeah,
You could
between
do that
those
as
two.
well. Yeah, you just add a D-ring here if you wanted to. And then once again, it makes it a little bit more compact to store your lead, so you don't have to find a hook that's 7 feet tall in your house. And that's, I guess, like, I'm not going to make one, guys. I'm not going to do it.
Any other questions over there, Stacy?
Only one unrelated one from Dan that was in the store last week. Just wanted to know how long it took Denny to do the guitar case.
Oh, the guitar case is out on the floor. I think we shared some photos of it a while back. This was a couple years ago.
Probably 300 hours in that.
It was a couple weeks.
Yeah.
300 hours? That's all?
That's all.
Well,
Yeah, it's a
maybe
full.
more.
It's,
I don't know.
We'll have to get it
didn't
out.
Time it. It was quite a while though. It was a project.
yeah, we'll have to show some more
It
pictures of it.
is.
We'll have to get it out. It's a fully tooled one, and then on the inside of it, crushed purple velvet on there.
That's right.
Yeah.
You did the bleed knot for a belt too, right?
Yeah, you could. You can use it to secure any turn back that you want. So yeah, you could definitely use that for any. Yeah,
I mean, that's pretty much a belt. If
it's
you were
just
really
a baby
small,
belt. If you were
an infant belt,
6 months old, you could wear this.
A little baby wearing a belt.
a little baby wearing
Or if
a
you were,
mystery
like,
braided
That's
belt.
before, unless
Bodybuilder,
it's a chubby
you
baby.
Oh, it's your bicep belt. Is that what
Yeah.
you're showing off there? I think that's what people say whenever you do videos. They're like, "Man, she's got some guns."
I'll work on them, guys.
Yeah, making
Anyways.
those knife sheaths.
No, that doesn't do it. That's not, I don't make that many of them. That's not.
All right.
Okay.
Well, if that's all the questions and everything, we'll make a couple more collars here, or we can probably give away some of the ones that have it on there. Maybe next on Monday when we draw names, we'll have you measure your dog collar
We'll see which
or your
one
dog's
fits.
neck,
Yeah,
and maybe we'll just make one for you.
we'll do that.
There you go.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right.
Well, thanks for joining us, guys. It's been fun.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us, Denny.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Yeah. Glad to be here.
Yep.